Hello everyone, I'm Jason from StrataGames, and today we're playing some more Pauper. This is Jund Gardens. I actually played this deck just after Duskborn came out about 2 weeks ago, because I knew there was going to be a ton of mono red with the new Clockwork Percussionist, and I wanted a deck that was going to be able to counter that pretty nicely. Now, Gardens can have a medium matchup against mono red, but if you build it right, it can be a very good matchup, and since I knew that's what I was going to be running into a lot, I tuned it accordingly. So this is a very hard control deck with tons of removal, and eventually we're going to stick one of our threats to try to win that way. So we gain a lot of card advantage from our Deadly Dispute and its variants, Fanatical Offering and Reckoner's Bargain, by sacrificing Ichor Wellspring, Lembas, and the tokens we get off of Colony Garden, hence the name. Once we have a ton of card advantage, and along the way we're going to be removing our opponent's threats with Defiles, Cast Downs, Snuff Outs, Spinning Darkness, and Crypt Rats. And I'm playing a Jund variation. This innovation came out a couple months ago with Modern Horizons 3, adding Writhing Chrysalis to the deck. I hadn't tried it, so this is my first time doing so, and it actually turned out really well. Since I was running red main deck, I decided to put in 2 breath weapons in the main deck instead of Drown and Sorrow, because I think the instant speed is going to be a lot more important against Bushwhacker than the Scry 1, or the fact that it's more red heavy. In order to survive against mono red, we also have 2 Campfires, which can gain us life every single turn, Toxin Analysis, which can gain us a burst of life with our Crypt Rats when we give it lifelink, or if we put it on one of our big creatures, it can do that as well. It also lets our Crypt Rats kill the entire table for just 1 black mana, since it has Death Touch. We also have Blood Token as more cards to Deadly Dispute away, or to get back our threats, and those threats are 2 Throne of the Black Rose to add the Monarch, 2 Avenging Hunter to add the initiative, 4 Writhing Chrysalis, which is supposed to help all of the weak points of the deck if they go too wide or if they have a lot of flying creatures. We also have 3 Trolls, which can be a win con, but also could just be a land if we need it. And our mana base is pretty standard here, but let's run through it real quick. We have 1 Bojuka Bog to blow up opponents' graveyards. We have a Haunted Mire and a Geothermal Bog, which can be fetched off of the Troll. We have 4 Colony Gardens, 1 Mountain, 1 Forest, and a bunch of Swamps, so that we can get those with our Twisted Landscapes, which can also just cycle. And we do have 1 Witch's Cottage to bring back any of our threats that we need. For our sideboard, red gives us tons of options. We have 3 Gorilla Shamans for our affinity matchups. We have 4 Pyroblast effects for if we go up against any blue decks, 2 Cast into the Fire for affinity and also for those go wide decks including mono red, 1 more breath weapon just in case we need it, 3 Weather the Storms for more life gain, and 2 Nile Spellbombs for any of those terror or other graveyard decks. So let's hop right into the games. Game 1 here, we get a reasonable hand. We have 3 lands with that Troll, a Campfire for against red. It's a really good thing to have in our opening hand. We have some card draw, some removal, and some board clear. Basically everything that we want. The only thing is we have a little more green than we would like, but the Troll is going to give us our 1 black that we need for the cards in hand. Volatile Fjord says we're against Izzet Control, which is a fine matchup as long as we can keep the terrors off the board and their graveyard clear. We're going to play a Lembas to scry. We don't need to get our black source until next turn. Pass to them, and they don't do anything there. They're going to ponder finding their land and playing it. We get to cycle our Troll for our swamp since we didn't draw one, play it, and just attack for 1 to really send a message. And we're going to pass to them, try to make it so that they use some of their mana there so that we can Deadly Dispute if they go with like a Brainstorm, Cycle Lorien or something like that. We want to do it when they're going to be tapped out. So if they don't do it, which they didn't do anything until their turn, we're just going to save the Deadly Dispute so that we can maybe force them to tap out for our next turn, being able to resolve something. So on the end step here, we are going to go for the Deadly Dispute on our plant token, or rather the Fanatical Offering, because I was expecting it to probably get countered, and I'd prefer the Treasure. Seeing as the Lembas is a 1-for-1 and the Deadly Dispute is a 2-for-1, I think the Lembas is less likely to catch a removal spell, and we really want our land here. So Lembas still lets us see 2 cards, even though it only lets us draw 1. So we have just as much chance of drawing a land off of it, which is why I cast it here. Unfortunately, even though we bottomed a card, we did not find our land, so we're just going to play a Campfire, which is actually going to eat a Spell Pierce here. Campfire is not amazing in this matchup because they're not super aggressive, but being able to turn a 5 damage Tolarian Terror into a 3 damage Tolarian Terror actually really adds a lot of time for us. So the Spell Pierce on the Campfire I don't think is too strange. Campfire is still just really good. And they get down a Terror for 3 mana here, which is pretty scary. We are a little desperate now. They have a creature out on the field, and we still are missing our land drop, so we Deadly Dispute the Lembas. Unfortunately, they are able to counter it with a lose focus. Lembas gets shuffled back in, but we don't have anything else to do with our mana, so we just pass to them. They get a Murmuring Mystic. Things are looking really rough, but they're down to 2 cards. We draw a swamp. Luckily, we're able to cast down the Murmuring Mystic. I was too worried with them having 1 mana up that they would have another Spell Pierce, even though they already used 2, that if I went for the Terror and it got countered, we would basically lose. So I just went for the Murmuring Mystic, which is a pretty scary one anyway. Thorn can hold back a Terror, for example. They Lightning Bolt us to be able to get a bird out of the deal, and then attack for 6 here. They have an Azure Fleet Admiral, another creature that's going to survive a Breath Weapon even if we are able to get our red source. We're going to crack our Lembas, but things are not looking good here. They have Lethal, and they play another Terror, so we need something really good. We draw our Mountain, but there's nothing in our hand that we can play that's going to win us the game here. I guess I could have played the Thorn, and I could have drawn a Defile, but Defile doesn't even kill the Azure Fleet Admiral, so I could have blocked a Terror, defiled the bird. We would have survived at 1, so I could have done that, but I saw the writing on the wall and I scooped it up. Sideboard here, I take out 2 Campfires, 2 Breath Weapons, and a Defile and a Spinning Darkness. I wanted to bring in the 4 Pyroblasts, of course, because we're against a blue deck, and I wanted to bring in those Nile Spellbombs to be able to delay the Terrors as long as possible. Breath Weapon doesn't really kill anything except for the Crimson Fleet Commodore and some birds. Campfire is okay against Terror, but still not amazing. Spinning Darkness doesn't really kill much but the Monarch creatures, and Defile, while good and can kill those other things, I thought was the most expendable of the spells. Pyroblast is going to be a Defile plus a ton more, and since I get 4 of those, I don't mind taking out 1 Defile. So we get to start this time, and we draw a lot of land, and we decide to ship it back. I could have kept it. We had a Snuff Out, but it just didn't feel like it was going to do enough. We just don't really have the interaction that we want. We certainly don't have the card draw that we want. So we mulligan to this, put back a Writhing Chrysalis, and get to play a Garden on turn 1. They're going to tap out for a Preordain, which means we're going to get to Deadly Dispute our plant token right away without having to fear the counterspell, which is pretty nice for us. Draw more removal and a Nacre Wellspring, so more card draw. They're going to ponder and they find another tap land, so we know the shields are down. Play a Nacre Wellspring to draw a card, and we're going to get down our Blood Fountain here. We do have a Thorn of the Black Rose, which can maybe land if they tap out again, though I think they're going to stop doing that. They play a Preordain and pass. We're going to play a Swamp and just pass it right back to them. We can cycle this Twisted Landscape if we want, but we just want to be patient. We don't want to run out of Monarch and then have them play their Monarch creature and never be able to take it back. We get a Swamp, we're going to play it and pass again. If they're leaving up all their mana, we don't want to play into the counterspell if we don't have to. They're going to Brainstorm, and they lead out first, which is great. They played a Crimson Fleet Commodore, which is exactly what I wanted them to do. I wanted them to play the Monarch so that I can take the Monarch with a Thorn and don't have to hopefully worry about them having another Monarch creature. So we get to cast down their Crimson Fleet Commodore. We draw Red Elemental Blast, meaning we know this Thorn of the Rose is going to resolve. And we get to play our Twisted Landscape, taking the Monarch and holding up the blast for anything else they have. And we draw a second blast. We only have the 1 red mana right now, but the Twisted Landscape can find the other one. They Fanged Flames our Thorn of the Black Rose with them playing no creatures. I really don't care about that. It's not a big deal at all. And we just pass the turn. I'm not going to Deadly Dispute when I don't have to. When they have a bunch of mana up, they play a Terror. We get to Red Blast it. They have a counterspell, and we can Deadly Dispute to get the second red for the Red Elemental Blast. I'm going to do that now. It also gives us more information to know if we're going to have the removal to deal with the Terror. Obviously, I have 1 cast down in hand, but if we draw another one, maybe I don't even need to waste the Red Blast right now. They don't get distracted and allow us to let that resolve, and we're just going to let the Terror hit the field. Not a big deal. They do play a second one, and that one becomes a bit more of a big deal, so we're going to counter that one with the Red Blast, and then we're going to cast down the Terror on the end step, seeing as we have the 4 mana to pay for it. Keep our Monarch around, and now that they're tapped out of blue mana, we get to slam an Avenging Hunter. Patience has paid off. If we'd played this earlier, it would have been countered for sure. We get our red source finally, and play a Spell Bomb, decide to crack it right away, so if they have any more Terrors, they're stranded in the hand. Plus, we have a Snuff Out in case they have any more creatures. Not that I expect them to have any haste creatures here. We're in a pretty good spot. They do have the Murmuring Mystic, Don't play a Snuff Out here unless if there's a reason to, like they're about to cast a bunch of stuff. We might as well save it for our turn. We're going to scry 2. We don't really want the +2 counters, especially if they have a Scred, which I expected they did, because they could have done it in response on the Hunter. They do have the Scred, and they're going to use it before we kill the Mystic so that they get a bird out of the deal. We're going to Reckoner's Bargain the Avenging Hunter, though, gain 5 life, and they're going to bolt us so that they get a second bird. Really trying to go for that Monarch. I respect it. Unfortunately, I'm not going to let it go through. We're going to Crypt Rats, just hit him for 1, and then Deadly Dispute our Crypt Rats for maximum value. We even draw a Red Blast, so we can still hit a blue spell that they cast here. They cast another Mystic, and we're going to counter that. They have a Spell Pierce, fair enough, but at least they're tapped out of blue. Maybe they have another Lightning Bolt or something. But we have another Pyroblast in hand and a Cast Down. So we're going to make a Treasure on our upkeep, draw a Defile, just to take care of the Murmuring Mystic with the Defile, and then get down a Writhing Chrysalis, and they have seen enough. We have way too much value for them. Keep the sideboard the exact same way. We draw this hand, which is alright. No real card advantage except for the Monarch, but we have a Snuff Out. We have a Toxin Analysis, which doesn't really do a lot in this matchup, to be fair. But we have a good amount of lands. We want as many cards in hand as possible. They play a Ponder, and then we're going to Lembas. They annul the Lembas. Fair enough. I didn't want that marriage to stick anyway. They're going to Brainstorm, and they whiff on their third land off a Brainstorm, which means they're in for a tough spot here. Now, we don't actually have black mana here, so we can't play Crypt Rats or anything like that, but we're about to get some off this Twisted Landscape. They pass right through their turn, knowing they're drawing nothing off that Brainstorm. We're going to get a red and a black off our Twisted Landscapes. And because we know that they're not doing well, we're going to slam this Thorn. They could have a counterspell, and they do. But if they didn't, we'd be in a great spot, seeing as they're behind. And either way, we're in a not bad spot. They missed their land drop again. We have a Blood Fountain. They're going to annul that too. Cycle our Troll for a black source. Don't need an untap, so we'll just get the black-red land and play that. They finally find their third land and play a Terror. Could potentially get them back in this game, that quick Terror. We're going to snuff it out, though. They only have mana for Spell Pierce, or maybe a Dispel if they're lucky. But they have the Spell Pierce, and we do have the 2 mana to pay for it. Play our Witch's Cottage and pass to them. They Brainstorm yet again. It's going to go a little better this time, seeing as they have the landscape. And they have another Terror. Pretty good for them. We do have a Reckoner's Bargain, sack our land, lucky enough to draw a Cast Down, and cast down that Terror right now. They have a Ponder, and they have another Terror. We play our Crypt Rats. I can Toxin Analysis the Crypt Rats, and then blow up the Tolarian Terror, since my Crypt Rats will have Death Touch, but they have a red mana up. I'm expecting them to try to Lightning Bolt our Crypt Rats. If they do that in response to the Toxin Analysis, we will not be able to kill the Terror, so I'm going to try to bait them out by just playing our 5th black source, so that I'll be able to kill the Terror next turn anyway. They'll probably try to kill our Crypt Rats at the end step if they have a Lightning Bolt or a Scred, in which case I can Toxin Analysis in response, and then kill the Terror with the Death Touch. We are going to Bojuka Bog their graveyard, making it so that the other Terrors are stuck in their hand, and they take the bait, Lightning Bolting the Crypt Rats. We're going to shoot everything for 2. Since we have the mana, we gain a little bit of extra life and deal them an extra damage, kill their Terror, and strand the others in hand. They find a Lorien Revealed to get their 4th land finally, but we get to play an Avenging Hunter, and they didn't leave up double blue mana, so I know they can't have Counterspell. They could lose focus, but I have the mana to pay for that. So we get the initiative, and I have Defile for 5 mana, which can kill a Terror or a Murmuring Mystic, so we're in a good spot here. They do have the Scred, but that's okay as long as we have the initiative. We're in a good spot. We also have a Clue to crack to draw a card here, trying to find a little bit more value. I think about keeping the Clue for a turn because it's our only card that we can Deadly Dispute, but then realize that I'd rather just have the card, and Pyroblast is a pretty good one to draw. We're going to scry 2 with the initiative, seeing as there's no creatures to put on the field. We get Nicker Wellspring. We're going to keep that. We have plenty of mana to play it, and it just makes it so that our Deadly Disputes are not irrelevant when we draw them. We draw another Wellspring, so we're going to play that as well. Our Deadly Disputes are going to be fantastic, especially when we hit a Garden. So we have 2 pieces of interaction / removal, and they only have 2 cards in hand. The initiative is ticking closer and closer to that Throne of the Dead 3, so they are looking to be in a rough spot. They're going to brainstorm, and we're going to let them have it, of course. Brainstorm's not the type of card we're looking for here. We're only using this Pyroblast on counter spells, on key cards, and Murmuring Mystics and Tolarian Terrors. Maybe if they get their Monarch as well, their Azure Fleet Commodore Admiral, we would do that too. We draw a Deadly Dispute and get to use it on our Ichor Wellspring, and I decide to Pyroblast to get further ahead on value with the Deadly Dispute, and it pays off. We draw a Thorn of the Black Rose to get the Monarch, which they Lightning Bolt, but we still get the Monarch, and we draw a Writhing Chrysalis. I just thought that I could probably draw at least one card that would push us even further ahead here, and I was absolutely right, getting 2 banger cards. Now we're drawing an extra card every turn, and we have the initiative, and they scoop it up. It is absolutely too much for them. Round 2 here, don't know what we're against, but we have a Colony Garden, Deadly Dispute, and a Snuff Out, and a Threat. Basically everything that we want. Absolutely perfect hand here. We're going to start with the Garden so we can Deadly Dispute on turn 2. They play a Swamp, so not sure exactly what they're going to be on. Could be a mirror match. They play a Forest, and I do think it's a mirror match when they play an Ichor Wellspring. I mean, who else is playing these kinds of cards? We're going to leave up the Deadly Dispute and pass. They Deadly Dispute their Wellspring, draw 2, and they miss their land drop. Pretty good for us, no matter what they're playing. We draw 2 with our Deadly Dispute and just slam down a Chrysalis. If they're missing lands, I'm just going to go on the offensive. And they play a Malevolent Rumble, revealing that they are in fact the dreaded Broodscale Combo. They choose a Forest because they need it, play a Chromatic Star. We get to just slam down a Thorn of the Black Rose though, getting the Monarch, knowing that we have 2 Snuff Outs to interact with their combo if they go for it, and they do. We Snuff Out, they have the Safekeeping, we have a Defile though, and we had another Snuff Out if they had somehow another way, like through this Eldrazi spawn, Chromatic Star into a green for another Tamiyo Safekeeping, we were going to be in a great spot. So we get to hit them for 5 here. They're down to 11, play a Colony Garden, and just pass, leaving up our Breath Weapon and our Snuff Out. So once again, 2 pieces of interaction if they do have the combo again. They're going to play a Chromatic Star and a Colony Garden, pass the turn to us, so we're going to Deadly Dispute our plant away, draw a Cast Down, so now we have 3 layers of removal, just hit them for another 5. They chump with their plant token, and they're going to Deadly Dispute it, drawing a couple cards, and we're going to Bojuka Bog their graveyard. Nothing really relevant there, but might as well get the tap land down. We actually have to start discarding because we have so many cards. They play a land and pass the turn, and we get to just play another Chrysalis here, sack those spawn to grow both of our creatures for a Lembas, get another Cast Down, we're going to keep it. Now we have 4 layers of protection, only 3 we can use at this exact moment. They're going to chump, crack a Chromatic Star, take some damage, we're going to Monarch, play a Broodscale, go for the combo again, we're going to Cast Down, and they concede right there. Way too much removal for them. The only thing in our main deck that's not very good is our Campfires. Life gain doesn't matter in this matchup, so we take them both out. We get 1 more Breath Weapon, which is okay, but not amazing. And we get 1 Nile Spellbomb, which is also not great, but it draws us a card. Campfires are very bad, so might as well get some cards that draw cards or could be good in some corner cases. We draw this hand, which does not look very good at all. We do have 2 lands. Monarch could be good, but we don't need double Monarch. We don't have any removal, so if they go for the fast start, it's just not going to work very well. We draw another bad hand with only 1 land and get rid of it. And then we draw this one, which is not great. 1 land again, but we're going to have to keep it. We get rid of a couple of cards, and they play a Colony Garden. We play a Swamp, hoping to draw a second one. We do have a Snuff Out to delay them a little bit. We draw a Bojuka Bog, so not missing our land drop quite yet, but still not in a great spot. They're going to Deadly Dispute their plant and play a land. We draw a Spellbomb. It's Ichor Wellspring. We draw a Witch's Cottage, just barely hitting our land drops, but good enough. Seeing as we have a pretty good matchup here, as long as we don't get behind on lands, I think we'll be okay. They play an Ichor Wellspring, sack their 3rd Deceptive Landscape. We draw a Swamp, fantastic for us, so we're just going to play a Thorn of the Black Rose. They don't have a lot of ways to take the Monarch, so getting it down is going to help get us out of our mulligan and also help us continue to hit lands that we've been lucky enough to get so far. They play some Chromatic Stars and cycle them, Malevolent Rumble, and take a Glee, so we know the combo could be coming soon. We get a Twisted Landscape, so we're going to put down a Crypt Rats, force them to worry about it, And we have 2 layers of damage here. They do duress us first, so they take our Snuff out. They play their Broodscale, and then they're Sadistically. I have Crypt Rats for 2 mana, but if I do that, they adapt, and Broodscale lives, and then they go for the combo. Although it would kill the Eldrazi spawn. If I go for 2, they can sack this one to adapt, but that'll die. So they wouldn't actually have anything to kickstart it. So I maybe could survive here, but I know that the only thing that matters is killing this spawn. So I'm going to Deadly Dispute, see if we're lucky enough to draw any more Snuff Outs. We are not, but we have Crypt Rats for 1 mana with this treasure. We draw Toxin Analysis, but we only have the 1 mana, so we can't use it. I decide to sandbag the Crypt Rats, though, knowing that they have to have some out. They play a Bloodright Invoker, which I can kill with the Crypt Rats. So they play that, go for the combo again, and I try to interact here. Crypt Rats for 1, and they have the Tamiyo's Safekeeping to keep it alive, and we die. I could have instead gone for the Crypt Rats before the Sadistically resolved to kill the spawn. They would have had to have a new way to make a spawn. So actually, I think I messed up there. I think I definitely should have gone for it then, because if they had the Tamiyo's Safekeeping, they still could have used it on the spawn. I don't think it would have mattered either way, but I still think it would have been better to use early. We keep our sideboard the same, hope that we get a better draw. And this hand is pretty reasonable. We don't have any removal in it, but we have some decent card draw, and we have a Crypt Rats, so we're going to keep it. We're going to play the Colony Garden and pass. We do have these Twisted Landscapes, which are a little annoying because we can't Deadly Dispute on turn 2, but luckily we draw an Ichor Wellspring and then draw a Swamp, so that fixes that problem. They have an Energy Refractor. We draw a Spinning Darkness. That's going to be a good answer to the Broodscale. We're going to Deadly Dispute the Wellspring on the end step, draw as many cards as we can, hit a Wellspring and a couple more lands. We're also going to sack that Landscape, get our swamps for our Defiles and things like that, play a Mountain, and just slam down a Avenging Hunter, trying to get the initiative going as fast as possible. Again, they're a fast combo deck. We want to hit our initiative and Monarch as fast as possible so that we can get that value rolling. They play a Chromatic Star and miss their land drop, so we're in a good spot here. We're going to buff up the Hunter. This can be a 2 to 3 turn clock, 2 with the Crypt Rats if they're not able to do anything about it. So attack for 7, play the Crypt Rats, and they're going to Deadly Dispute the Chromatic Star, digging for interaction or their combo. I'm just kidding. Combo decks don't play interaction. They're going to Ichor Wellspring, draw a card, and they're going to concede because we have 8 damage right here and 5 more damage from the Undercity. So if you can just get out a fast Avenging Hunter when they don't have their combo, you can just win like that. So we are now 2-0. Round 3 here, we don't have the card draw we would want. We do have a lot of removal. I think we got to keep this one, but we definitely want to draw a Deadly Dispute or an Ichor Wellspring. They're on a Drawsforged Bridge, a Snuff Out, so more removal. Whatever they play is probably going to die, but when they play a Jagged Barrens, I know we're not against Affinity. We are against Rakdos Burn, which makes this quite a bit worse, especially when we miss our land drop. They play a land and just pass to us. We find our Mountain, and all we can do is play out a Crypt Rats, which is not very good. They're going to demand answers into a Kitchen Imp. It's interesting that they wanted to do that at instant speed rather than hitting for 2 damage last turn, but I could have killed the Kitchen Imp, so maybe it's fair. I'm going to attack for 1, because what else is there to do with this Crypt Rats? Play a Colony Garden that we are lucky enough to draw, and pass. We're going to have to cast down this Kitchen Imp, and they Faithless Looting into 2 more like a frickin' cheater. So they're attacking for 6, and our Defile can't kill them, and our Snuff Out can't kill them, so we can only kill 1, and our Crypt Rats can't kill them. So kill 1, take 4 down to 11. We do draw a Swamp, which means our Crypt Rats can now take out the Kitchen Imps, but at the expense of taking 2 damage. So we're going to play a Chrysalis, which allows us to block a Kitchen Imp, and now we can Defile the other one as a way to not take any damage off our Crypt Rats and still kill both of the Kitchen Imps. They're going to Blood Token and Alms of the Vein, and then Galvanic Blast, and then Vampire's Kiss, and we're at 2. Looks like we're dead to these Kitchen Imps. Luckily, we have the answer. Unluckily, they have the answer to the answer. Another Lightning Bolt, and we are quickly dead. The good news is we get to swap out a lot of cards here. We don't need or want 2 Thorns of the Black Rose, any of our cast downs, Defile, or either of our Snuff Outs. And in exchange, we get to bring in 3 Weather the Storms, 3 Gorilla Shamans, 2 Cast into the Fire, and a Breath Weapon. We do draw this lovely hand that is garbage we have to toss back into another one, so we're down to 5. we gotta get rid of these 2 creatures. Luckily, the cards that we have are lands and life gain cards, so maybe we'll be able to stay afloat here. They're going to play a Voldaren Epicure, and we're just going to get down that campfire, start gaining 2 every single turn, no matter what. That is the most important thing. They're going to grab the prize, discarding a mountain. No, sorry, they're going to Faithless Looting and then attack for 1. We're going to campfire to gain 2. And then Lembas, bin a Defile, and get a Writhing Chrysalis. Now, I want to turn this landscape into a red source to be able to exile like a Great Furnace, but the most important thing is to campfire every single turn. So, we're going to do that. We're still at 20. And they have 4 cards in hand. We're going to play a land, play our Wellspring, and pass the turn. Now we're going to get to campfire and sack our Twisted Landscape. They're going to demand answers on their blood to draw 2 cards, swing for 1. We'll take it down to 19. Trespasser's Curse, which is an interesting one. We don't have a ton of creatures, but our Writhing Chrysalis is really going to hurt here. And they're going to Bojuka Bog us just to hit their land drop. We draw a Breath Weapon, and even though we're going to lose 3 off of it, we're going to play this Writhing Chrysalis. It gives us mana for other various things that we want to do. It gives us a big guy in case they play a Kitchen Imp, and it blocks their Epicure. They play another Trespasser's Curse, making us really regret having Writhing Chrysalises in our deck, I guess. Faithless Looting and Alms of the Vein, and we're going to always use Campfire, even if we have to sack a spawn to do it. So we're going to pump up our Chrysalis and start swinging. We need to attack them a little bit. We're not actually we don't have too much pressure on us, and we have this Campfire, and we just do a Weather the Storm, but we want to kill them as fast as possible. They're going to Faithless Looting away a Galvanic Blast and a Bridge, swing for 1 with the Epicure, and we're just going to take it. Hoping they're going to cast a bunch of spells here. Trespasser's Curse, a Voldaren Epicure, and they're out of cards in hand. So that's enough for me. I'm going to cast into the fire their 2 1/1s, and then Weather the Storm to gain a whopping 15 life. Also, always use Campfire, sack our spawn to do that. Up to 32, attacking for 4, we're in a pretty good spot. We have another Campfire, so let's just play that. There's no reason not to. They're going to Faithless Looting. Alms of the Vein hit us for 3, and Jagged Barrens hit us for another. But we are gaining so much life now, 4 every turn, plus a Lembas when we have the mana to sack it. Attack for 4, and just pass. We don't even need our lands, so we're just going to keep this Troll in hand. They're going to Faithless Looting and discard of Galvanic Blast. Not really sure what they're digging for, but I understand their hesitance to give up. But, you know, give up. Lembas, crack, we're up to 39 life. Play another Lembas. We're going to gain even more. Get a Defile. We're going to bottom that since we don't really need the removal. Draw a Twisted Landscape. Attack for 4. Pass the turn to them. They have grabbed the prize into a Kitchen Imp. Not bad at all. It's a nice way to deal 4 damage. Offsets our Campfires for the turn. They also draw 2 off of it, so let's see what they get there. And Extract a Confession. They are going to kill our Writhing Chrysalis there, so now our clock is gone. We're going to sack our landscape and gain 4 off of our Campfires. We draw another Chrysalis. We're going to play it, but with 3 Trespasser's Curses, it's going to hurt, actually. They gain 9 life and we lose 9, but it's still worth it. We're able to block this Kitchen Imp. They double Fiery Temper off of Faithless Looting. 1 at the Chrysalis, so we're going to sack a spawn to be able to grow the Chrysalis to survive, but they're going to send the second one at the Chrysalis as well, so it's going to die, and we are out of a win con again. They attack with their Kitchen Imp. We get to Campfire back to 32. We're going to play a Troll, breaking my rule of always Campfire. I didn't have the mana, and I would like to, despite the fact that our life is going up, I would like to try to kill them quickly-ish. So I'm going to play this Troll, and then I'm going to resume using Campfire every single turn. Of course, they also gain 3 life off of us playing this Troll, but so be it. They have a Faithless Looting, discard 2 lands, and they have an Extract a Confession, kill our Troll. So we, once again, don't have a win con. We're going to Breath Weapon to wipe the Kitchen Imp before we play our Colony Garden, which gives them 3 life. They Faithless Looting, hit us with an Alms of the Vein. We're going to double Campfire up to 25. We draw another Troll, so we break our rule again to try to get our threat going. They're up to 35, and we're at 22. But they don't have anything this time. We get to hit them for 6, and now we get to start gaining life off our Campfires again. They double Lightning Bolt us, and we're below 20 for the first time in forever, but we're able to double Campfire, sack our Lembas back to 23, attack for 6, and we decide to slam yet another Troll, Gotta finish this game at some point. Then again, they're down 10 minutes on clock, so if this game takes forever and we're not dying with our campfires, we're kind of okay either way. But I'm still trying to win the game in a reasonable manner. They Kitchen Imp. We're down to 14, but we get to hit them for 12, gain 4 life, pass the turn. I meant to Toxin Analysis that turn to gain 6 more life, but I forgot, I believe, and then I didn't Writhing Chrysalis because I was legitimately concerned with dying. If I Writhing Chrysalis, we would have taken 9. We would be down to 4 right now with 3 cards in hand for them. I actually thought we might lose, which is crazy given what's gone on. We attack with the trolls. They don't block. We remember to Toxin Analysis this time to gain 6 life, up to 19, and we still have the campfires, and they concede there. Finally. And honestly, they got us a lot closer than I thought they were going to, so props on them. The triple Trespasser's Curse actually did some work. It was nice that they backed it up with the Extracted Confession to kill the creatures we did play, because if they didn't have that, it wouldn't have mattered. But we are able to get the game, and we go on to match 3. We get this very good hand. Blood Fountain gives us something to Deadly Dispute. Weather the Storm is going to gain us a lot of life, and Crypt Rats might be able to wipe the board. We draw a Defile, so we also have a little more single target removal. Pretty good for us. They Vampires Kiss us. We get down our green source for our Weather the Storm, and then play a Blood Fountain. Now we're going to start leaving up Weather for if they go for a big Faithless Looting. We also have our Deadly Disputes and things like that. And they do Faithless Looting into double Fiery Temper, which we can undo with the Weather the Storm. Absolutely phenomenal, especially because we can Deadly Dispute our Blood token as another way to add to our Storm count. Gain 15, back up to 24. After they've used a lot of their cards, we're able to get down a Lembas and a Campfire, prepping to gain a lot of life. They crack a Blood token but don't have anything else in their turn, and we're able to play an Ichor Wellspring, draw another Lembas, play it looking for a land. We find it, so we can even hit our Campfire this turn. Absolutely phenomenal for us. They're ditching lands to their blood tokens because they're getting too flooded. They do find a Faithless Looting and a Kitchen Imp off of it, but we're able to offset that damage with the Campfire that we have. They Vampires Curse us, hitting us for 2, getting more blood tokens, and we're stable at 25. And we're going to slam down an Avenging Hunter, get a Swamp, which we can use to defile this Kitchen Imp. This means we're not campfiring, but we're able to kill the Kitchen Imp and get the initiative down. They do extract a Confession, but we're able to kill the Kitchen Imp, so it's not a big deal. Even if they have another Kitchen Imp next turn, we have plenty of removal for it. Then we're going to scry 2 and keep a Writhing Chrysalis, but instead we're going to play the Gorilla Shaman to eat all of their blood tokens. They're going to Lightning Bolt the Gorilla Shaman, which is totally fine. We're going to pass to them, leaving up our Defile and our Campfire. They flash back a Faithless Looting for another Kitchen Imp, but luckily for us, not 2 Kitchen Imps. So they Alms of the Vein us, hit for 3. We're going to kill the Kitchen Imp and gain 2 off the Campfire. They play a Carnarium to bounce a Jagged Barrens. We gain a Treasure, play our Colony Gardens and a Writhing Chrysalis, put a stop to any more Kitchen Imps that could be coming through, and they scoop it up there. We survive at 22 life because we just have so much life gain in this deck. Round 4, we have another beautiful hand. 2 lands, one of which is a Gardens, one of which is a Swamp with a Deadly Dispute and a Snuff Out. So everything we could ask for and more. We're definitely going to keep it. We see a Mountain, but no turn 1 play, so it could be mono red, but definitely a slower start for them if it is. Another Mountain, and still nothing, which is insane to me. But we're going to play an Ichor Wellspring, draw another Snuff Out. Snuff Out, not the best against mono red. They do play a Great Furnace, Kuldotha Rebirth into Bushwhacker as their first plays of the game. And now actually a little scared despite the fact that they played nothing. We're going to chump and take 6, not snuffing out because it's just too much more damage that we're going to use. We're going to Deadly Dispute our Wellspring, and we draw a Swamp. We decide just to discard our Snuff Outs. We're not going to use them this game anyway already, so it's not a big deal if we hold up mana here. We're going to see what happens. We are attacked for 4. We're going to take it, and they pass. We're going to take it because we want a Breath Weapon here. They double bolt us on the end step. We're down to 4. It's looking rough, but they don't play anything here, and we have a Lembas, so let's look for a land. We draw a Campfire, and so I decide, you know what? If they didn't kill us with 4 mana and 2 cards, maybe we'll survive another turn. So we keep the Campfire. Playing for next turn, they have a Voldaren Epicure. I'm going to go down to 3 life, which means I'm in bolt range. I try to Spinning Darkness their Voldaren Epicure in response to the trigger so that we'll gain 3, go up to 7, down to 6, and we won't die to 1 more Lightning Bolt, because I know they don't have 2 Lightning Bolts or we'd be dead already. So I try to Spinning Darkness this Voldaren Epicure, seeing as there are, as you can see, 1, 2, and 3, 2 Snuffouts, 3 black cards in our graveyard, and Magic Online says no. It does not allow me to use Spinning Darkness's alternative mode of casting. I click on it and it says, do you want to pay 4 black? And I say no, and there's no other alternative. This is apparently a known bug. I've reported it, and some other people have reported it. I was livid because I was about to die to a Lightning Bolt, or so I thought. I had to let it resolve because I didn't have anything else to do. They sack their blood, discard a mountain, and I'm still not dead. And then somehow on my turn, the Spinning Darkness is allowed to be played again for its alternative cost. So I'm not taking any chances. I shoot that Voldaren Epicure right away, up to 6. I use my Campfire up to 8, and now I get to leave up my Lembas, leave up Double Defile, or Deadly Dispute for anything that they want to use. I'm going to crack the Lembas, and they concede because they can see that we're just going up in life. But I felt so close to dying because of that bug. Oh, man, my heart was racing there. But we were able to get the game, which is absolutely fantastic for us. We didn't really even do anything in that game. We just had the life gain to stay above their burn. So we get to take out the Thorns of the Black Rose. Most of our cast downs definitely are Snuffouts, and a couple of our Avenging Hunters in exchange for our Breath Weapon and Weather the Storms, which are great in this matchup, and our Casting of the Fires, which are okay, and our Gorilla Shamans, which are also okay. I don't love Gorilla Shaman in this matchup, but it's better than all of this really expensive removal or this Monarch or anything like that we don't want to be giving them. And if I'm able to pick off a Blood Token and a Great Furnace with it, that's totally fine by me. So we get this okay hand. We have a Crypt Rats, but that's a turn 4 board wipe, which is pretty slow. Gorilla Shaman doesn't really do anything, and our Chrysalises are slow as well. So I guess I keep this one. It looks pretty bad against mono red. I don't really think I should have kept it, but we did. So they play a Percussionist and we play a Plant Token, or rather a Colony Garden. They have a Tomb Raider, and because the Clockwork Percussionist is an artifact, it's a 2/2. So we're just going to chump block, try to preserve our life total as much as possible, play a Swamp, and play a Lembas, looking for a Sweeper or something. We ditch an Ichor Wellspring, we draw a Campfire, which is a great draw. We're going to start using that right away. They synth into a Mountain, just have the 3 damage, so not too fast of a clock here. We're going to play our Campfire, use it, and also crack our Landscape for a red source so we can start getting down Chrysalises. They crack a Synth on 3 lands and get a Kuldotha Rebirth. If they don't have a land, this is phenomenal. They do second main phase, unfortunately, so they get to crack their Clockwork Percussionist for a Rebirth into a Bushwhacker. So we know a Bushwhacker is coming next turn. So we're going to crack our Landscape for a Mountain, play our Chrysalis. Now, I could have also played a Crypt Rats, knowing that they're going to Bushwhacker. I could Crypt Rats to wipe all of the 1/1s and chump here. That wouldn't have been bad either, but I think that I was thinking that this Chrysalis can eat a Samurai, and it can give me the mana to Campfire. I think that was honestly the deciding factor, is that I get to Campfire in addition to blocking 3 creatures and eating one of them. So I know the Bushwhacker's coming. They play a Synth first into a Clockwork Percussionist, play that, and then Bushwhacker. They play another Mountain and swing with the team, 1 at a time, to make it more ominous. We're going to block the Samurai and 2 of the bigger creatures. Use the Campfire. Make sure to stack your spawn, even if they're just going to die, so that your Chrysalis always grows. We're going to eat the Samurai down to 8, but we're able to play a Crypt Rats here and hold it up. So now we can Crypt Rats for 2, or we can Crypt Rats for 1, which is going to wipe everything but the Tomb Raider, and we can Campfire. So we're going to double block here. Campfire first, just in case they have 7 damage in hand that the Crypt Rats would help them kill us. Wipe the board. They get a Gorilla Shaman off of their Percussionist, which is not a big deal, although they do get to eat the Campfire. It's pretty good, but it uses up their whole turn. We get to play another Chrysalis in the meantime and swing with the first one. We're just going to let them take 4, being patient so that in case they have another Rebirth and Bushwhacker, we have the blockers. They're going to Epicure, and that would give them lethal if they have double Galvanic Blast because they would have 3 artifacts. So I decided to Deadly Dispute my spawn token in response, and then sack my Lembas with the 2 mana that I have left in order to not die to that off chance possibility. They probably wouldn't have double Galvanic, but if they did, that would kill me. And hey, there's 1 Galvanic, they sack an Implement and play an Epicure. So I could have died there for sure. We're going to play a Gorilla Shaman and just eat their blood tokens. Attack them for 10. And play a Crypt Rats, passing the turn. This is still risky. We're at 5. They could have a Fire Blast or a Goblin Grenade, although they have no goblins at the moment. But we have the Crypt Rats to wipe the board, putting us to 4. But we do have lethal on them next turn, seeing as we can wipe out all of their blockers. They're going to synth, get a Samurai, and swing with the team. And I block both of them and decide to Crypt Rats for 1. We're going to take 1 damage either way. Might as well kill their creature in the process. And they have a Gorilla Shaman and a Bushwhacker, so no lethal attacker. We play Gorilla Shaman and Fanatical Offering it right away to draw a couple cards. And we use our map token on our Chrysalis, draw a Witch's Cottage, which we're going to use to put a Crypt Rats back on top of our deck. We're going to swing for 10 damage, 2 lethal attackers, so they have to block both, but we can gain 6 off of the Chrysalis here, putting us back up to 10, so they have to find 8 damage with this Samurai in order to kill us, and they do not, so we are able to take the match against Mono Red. Round 5 here, we have another great start, lands and card draw. No removal, but hopefully we'll draw into it, or hopefully we'll play against someone where we don't need it. They start with a blue land, usually called an island, so I'm assuming probably mono blue terror or something. We're going to leave up our Deadly Dispute. They're going to Modern Age, so actually I'm thinking Dimir Snacker or something like that, and we see a Snacker right there. We're going to Deadly Dispute and get down our Campfire. Campfire can be really good against fairies because they deal little points of damage at a time. They're going to Brainstorm in response to their Modern Age to get their Sneaky Snacker back. I'm not really sure why they would do this. If anything, if they draw a Snacker with the Modern Age and can bin it, then they can get that back as well with the Brainstorm. So I really don't know why they did that, but whatever. They discarded Echoing Decay, play a land for turn, and we're going to crack our landscape and use our Campfire. We draw a Lembas, so we're going to play that. We're not playing Monarch anytime soon. We do get a Deadly Dispute, though. We want to have more cards than they do. Just stay up in card advantage. Breath Weapon also can be pretty good here, although it doesn't kill the Vector Glider, which is good to know. We're going to take 2 off of the Snacker, but we can get that right back with our Campfire. They're going to play another Modern Age, discarding a Consider, back up to 22. We're going to play a land and pass to them. We have a whole bunch of instant speed card draw that we want to use on their turn. They discard another Snacker with the Modern Age and swing for 4. I'm going to Fanatical Offering here to see if we draw any removal, and we do get a Snuff Out. I'm going to Defile the Vector Glider once we've gotten our 3rd swamp off this landscape. To try to kill it, they Spell Pierce us, so we just snuff it out. Take 2, and we're going to Campfire back up to 18. We draw a Cast Down. We're going to Deadly Dispute, and they have a counterspell for it. Play a Colony Garden. They have another Vector Glider, so we're going to need to maybe cast that down at the end steps if we want to try to get this Thorn of the Black Rose down. Attack for 2 with the Sneaky Snacker. We are going to kill the Vector Glider and gain 2 with our Campfire. And I'm going to just play out the Troll. I figure if they have a counterspell or a removal spell and they use it on the Troll, it won't be used on the Thorn. They do have a cast down for it. Sneaky Snacker hits for 2 damage, and we're going to gain 2 life with our Campfire. We get another Troll, so we decide just to run it back. They use a counterspell, which is not the end of the world. I kind of want to draw out the counterspell so that our Thorn can resolve. If we're then able to Breath Weapon away the Snackers, we'll be in a good spot. Campfire keeps us once again at 18. We also draw a cast down, though only one of those can be played at the moment, so we are in a bit of a risky spot. They're going to swing with a Snacker, and I'm going to just try to cast it down. They have this Spell Sprite. Probably should have thought about that. Breath Weapon couldn't have gotten Spell Stuttered, but Breath Weapon does kill both of those now, so maybe it's okay, but we'll find out if we're screwed here. They're going to Deep Analysis to get back to the other Snacker. So we're going to go for a Breath Weapon right now. It resolves, luckily, and we're able to take back the Monarch. Play our land, and we draw. Get a Deadly Dispute. We have a Snuff Out as well. They do have the Deep Analysis to get back 2 Snackers. We're going to Deadly Dispute our Lembas to try to draw something. We're going to Reckoner's Bargain our treasure as well. We didn't have any instant speed graveyard or anything like this. We were doing it so that before they had 2 cards in hand, so they might not have the counter spells, which they did not. They have a Gurmag Angler, though. We Campfire and get a Crypt Rats, which, if it'll resolve, is really good for us. We get to play a land and pass. They're going to Unexpected Fangs their Gurmag Angler, which I think is fine because I can still just trade with it with a Thorn of the Black Rose, or they're trying to keep it out of Crypt Rat's range, but I could also just cast it down, or this Twisted Landscape can become a swamp, so we'll be able to get there eventually. They swing with everything. My goal is to block with Crypt Rats here, and then deal a damage to each of the snackers to kill them to keep our Monarch on our side. Then I think, well, they're at a lower life total than we are, so I decide to pump more mana into the Crypt Rats in order to deal them more damage. I should have stopped at 2, but I was like, oh, I want to deal them as much as possible, and then forgot that I would kill my own Thorn since I dealt 4 damage. So that was a big mistake. I did not want to lose that Thorn. They have a Lorien revealed, and we're going to get a Swamp and tap our Campfire for some F6 value. They get both of their snackers back. Luckily, we have another Crypt Rats. We're going to Witch's Cottage back the first Crypt Rats back to the top of our deck. And we have 6 mana now that we can use on our Crypt Rats. I could use it right now, but I might as well get in a block on the Gurmag Angler if I can, and then try to wipe the board. If they have another Unexpected Fangs, they can keep the Gurmag Angler alive, but luckily they do not. And we're also able to deal them 6 damage. That 2 damage I dealt earlier coming in handy. They're down to 6. And then they Modern Age, discard another snacker, pass to us. We forget to Campfire, but it's okay. We have a Crypt Rats, which will kill them outright. They have a counterspell for it. So we got a Lembas, try to find a Blood Fountain or something. We get another Lembas. We draw a Bajuka Bog, though. We play it, but they have the Brainstorm, so they're able to get back their whole army of sneaky snackers. We're going to kill one of them in response so that it'll still get exiled, but definitely didn't work out quite how we hoped. They're going to cycle a Suffocating Fumes, and we draw an Avenging Hunter off of our last turn as Monarch. They pitch a Snuff Out to the Modern Age and attack for 4. Now suddenly regretting missing that Campfire damage, regretting having our Thorn of the Black Rose die, a lot of things. But we're going to sack our Lembas and use our Campfire on the end step to gain a little bit of life. We draw a Writhing Chrysalis, which is a really good one, but we're going to start with the Avenging Hunter, see if that gets a counterspell. It does not, which is great for us. We get to play the Writhing Chrysalis as well. They're going to Brainstorm in response to that. They don't care about the initiative, seeing as I suppose they can take it, but Writhing Chrysalis, we have a blocker and we have 2 decent attackers. They are still at 6, so the game is, even though they have the Monarch and have 8 cards in hand, if they don't have a lot of good stuff, we could be okay. They Agony Warp the Chrysalis, which I can sack 1 Eldrazi Spawn and it'll survive, which is totally fine by us. Use the mana on Campfire so that we don't waste it. They swing with both snackers. I can sack my Spawn and trade with a snacker, but that seems pretty bad to me, so I'll just let them have the initiative and go down to 11. I want to keep this Chrysalis alive if I can, but I can't. They double Agony Warp it and snuff out the Avenging Hunter down to 2 life and play a 4th snacker. So if we get a Crypt Rats or anything that deals them 2 damage, we're good. But we need to find it, so we play a Lembas, scrying. Cast down doesn't do enough good here, so we're going to get rid of it. We draw another Writhing Chrysalis, could be okay. We're going to cast it, and they have a Spell Stutter Sprite, which can now counter a 4-drop. Luckily, we have a Snuff Out to try to kill the Spell Stutter Sprite, and our Chrysalis resolves. So for a second, we were like, oh god, we're going to lose, but we're still maybe not going to lose. So then again, they get to initiative, buff up their Vector Glider, make it a 4/5, and they're going to play a Murmuring Mystic. Swing with the Vector Glider and a couple sneaky snackers. I'm going to block the Glider. I can't afford to take all this damage. They're going to Moon Circuit Hacker a Spellstutter Sprite. We're going to sack 2 of our Spawn to make our Chrysalis big enough to survive, and then decide to sack the 3rd one to eat the Vector Glider. We'll eat their giant creature even though we're taking some damage. Not too bad for us. Sack the Lembas off of the mana. Unfortunately, they have the Unexpected Fangs on the Glider. Doesn't kill our creature, they both bounce off, but they gain 5 life and keep their giant life-flicking creature. We draw a Troll, but now this is looking really bad for us with all of their lifelink. They Undercity, make us lose 5. We're down to 7. We have a campfire still. And we have this Chrysalis, which can block. So we're going to block. They gain 5 and Bajuka Bog us. So there goes our Blood Fountain plan. Play their Snacker back, and we're going to gain 2 on the end step. And this is about the point in a game where you realize my opponent only has 10 cards in library. So if I can just not die and they have the Monarch, they're going to mill out. So we play a Wellspring. We have a Toxin Analysis, which is good. Gives Death Touch. That means we can kill their Vector Glider. We swing with the Troll, seeing how they're going to block, and they decide to quad block. If they get these Snackers back, I mean, it's not great for us. It might not have been a great attack, honestly. But also, how would they get them back? By drawing more cards. So if I can incentivize them to draw more cards, I don't really hate that. And in fact, they are going to Deep Analysis, going down to 6 cards left in deck to get their Snackers back. And they drew a card off of their Undercity. Hopefully they'll flash back that Deep Analysis. They play a Modern Age. That's also going to draw them 2 more cards. 1 right now, discarding an island. They're going to swing with their Vector Glider. We're going to go for the block and try to finally kill it, giving our guy Death Touch and Lifelink, which will keep it alive. They have the Spell Stutter Sprite, though. They counter the Toxin Analysis, so we have to deal with them just bouncing off. We'll gain 2 off of our campsite, but if we can just keep them drawing cards, we'll be fine. And they Deep Analysis here. I do not think they knew how close they were to dying, because then they Monarch. So they're at 2 cards in deck with a Modern Age and a Monarch going off, so they're dead next turn if I can survive. So we Deadly Dispute the Wellspring that we draw. They have another Spell Stutter Sprite, so we get just a single card draw. But it's a good one. It's a campfire. I mean, it's not phenomenal, but we'll gain 2 life, and we're just going to pass the turn to them. And they Undercity, revealing nothing, and they decide to swing with the team, realizing that they are probably dying here. We just block the 2 highest damage things, survive at 4, and they draw in their end step off of Monarch. If they just hadn't cast that last Deep Analysis, they would have survived. They really should have checked their deck size, but sometimes that's how you win a game. Also, they took 20 of their 25 minutes on that first game, so they need to play much quicker. We took 12 minutes, but we have time aplenty compared to them. For sideboard, we took out the Thorns of the Black Rose. It's pretty hard to keep the Monarch, as we can see, against a bunch of flyers, but also, even though it won us the last game, we just need to survive for 5 minutes, so we don't really want to do anything that's riskier, like the Monarch or the Initiative. Snuff Outs we take out as well. It can't kill Snackers and things like that, but also it loses us 4 life, and we take out a Toxin Analysis. In exchange for that, we get 4 Pyroblasts, another Breath Weapon, and we get 2 Nihil Spellbombs. We draw this hand that looks, in general, okay, not amazing, but when we just need to survive for 5 minutes, a ton of removal is totally fine by us. So we're going to keep it. I don't want to play for time, but if you're going to take 20 minutes on one game, it's part of it. You know what I mean? So they're going to Modern Age away a Sneaky Snacker. We draw a Haunted Mire. Great draw for us. It gives us our green and just another land. They're going to cycle a Suffocating Fumes to get back a Snacker. We're going to Lembus, get a Deadly Dispute, and just defile that Snacker to get rid of it again. They're going to Brainstorm, bring it right back. So, you know, Snackers might get a little nauseous going back and forth. We're going to Deadly Dispute this Lembus, trying to hit our land drop. We find it, and we're going to just cast down the Vector Glider. They have another Modern Age, but they're stuck on 2 lands here. They're going to swing for 2, but don't hit their land drop. We get a Writhing Chrysalis and just decide to make it big, play a Lembus right away, trying to hit our land drop, and we find a Colony Garden. Fantastic draw for us. Past the turn, we still have 3 removal spells in hand to deal with some of their creatures. They find their 3rd land, though, so things are looking up, but not when we have a 4/5 reach, because this card's so good. Pass the turn to us. We draw another land. We're going to start with a 2nd Chrysalis to buff up our 1st Chrysalis. They've got the counterspell, but we still get 2 more little spawn tokens. So we're going to play a Crypt Rats, buff up our Chrysalis, and swing for 6. Crypt Rats is just there, getting it down while they don't have a counterspell, as a way to deal them some extra damage when we get closer to 0 life on them. They're going to flash back a Deep Analysis to draw 2. They also get their Vector Glider and their Sneaky Snacker back. So they do discard a Murmuring Mystic in their end step, though. I'm going to Spinning Darkness the Vector Glider. Didn't have any issues with the Spinning Darkness there, apparently. Attack them for 7, down to 10, and play a Witch's Cottage, get back a Chrysalis on top of our deck. seeing as it's been phenomenal so far. They have a Gurmag Angler, but we're going to be able to cast that down and swing for 6. And before blocks, I'm going to Crypt Rats to kill their blocker, try to hit them for lethal. They do have a Spell Stutter Sprite, so they're able to survive here, but it's still just a chump, so not that big of a deal. Although I'm not able to play my Chrysalis because of how I did that. That's okay, we still have 1 lethal attacker. They've got another Spell Stutter Sprite though, so it's possible they could do some ninjutsuing here or something like that. They have a Thorn of the Black Rose. Death Touch could be pretty good here, but we just need to hit him for 6. So we're going to swing with the Chrysalis, trades with a Thorn, which I don't love, but we get another Chrysalis down, and it's going to be close to a lethal attacker pretty soon anyway. Not to mention we have a Blood Fountain that can get back our Crypt Rats and our Writhing Chrysalis, which is the reason that I was willing to throw away our Chrysalis. They have another Gurmag Angler though. So another 5/5, now able to block our smaller Chrysalis. We're going to crack that Blood Fountain on the end step, growing our Chrysalis, and realizing I probably should have saved one of those spawn to grow our second Chrysalis when it comes back. But we get another Chrysalis, only 1 red, otherwise we'd play 2 of them right now, but we're going to play 1 of them, and now swing with the first, which can now become a 6/7. They know that, so they're going to just chump with a Spell Stutter Sprite, and we're going to pass the turn to them. I'd rather save the Crypt Rats for when they're tapped out, or when, even if they're not tapped out, when I know it can deal 6 damage. And right now it can't do either. So we're going to just pass. They cycle Alorian Revealed, but leaving up all of their mana. Could have an Unexpected Fangs or something here to gain a little bit of life, but we'll survive, you know, we'll be okay. They do have a Monarch going still, so we're going to start by sacking a spawn and playing a Writhing Chrysalis, realizing, again, that I should have just waited on the spawn until all of my Chrysalises were on the field, but regardless, we'll swing with 2 of them. They have another Spell Stutter Sprite, but we're going to Deadly Dispute another spawn in response, see if we draw some removal. We do have a Breath Weapon, so we're probably going to Breath Weapon response to the Spell Stutter Sprite. Once it's landed, they counterspell, so they're still able to double chump, but knowing that they're chumping with a Gurmag Angler, they just scoop it up. So we were able to pick up the nice clean 5-0. Obviously, we were able to get a trophy, so this deck did really well, but especially being able to have so much life gain in the deck and a bunch of sweepers was really key. We didn't actually go up against that many mono red decks, just the one, but all the sweepers were great against fairies as well, and all the life gain is great against that Madness Burn deck, which has become very popular lately because of Grab the Prize. I actually played that deck last week if you want to check it out. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.